Hey there, and welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered, the space where we cut through the noise and rewrite the stories we've been handed. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today's episode is going to challenge a narrative that far too many women have been told that's just normal. Whether it's fatigue, bloating, weight gain, or being dismissed because of your diagnosis, you've probably been told to accept a version of health that feels anything but empowering. My guest today is Samantha Beckton, owner of Not Now Therapeutics, and she's here to flip that script. As a certified bodywork therapist, Samantha has helped countless women reconnect with their bodies and shed the idea that they just have to live with it. We'll talk about how lymphatic massage supports hormone balance, detoxification, and inflammation, and why it's a missing link for so many women, especially those navigating PCOS. Plus, we'll get real about how powerful it is to question what you've been told is normal and how you can begin to reclaim your story. So, if you're ready to ditch the diagnosis mindset and move toward healing that's actually aligned with your body, this episode is for you. As always, the content shared on PCOS Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are not intended to serve as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. The information shared is based on personal experience and expert interviews and is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Now grab your foam roller and let's get into it. Welcome. Super excited to have Samantha here with us today. Is it, I guess, Samantha, Sammy Tay? What do you prefer?
Professionally Samantha, but my friends call me Sammy Tay. That's how I know how people know me.
Okay, so we're gonna stick with Samantha. But yes, thank you for being here. This is definitely the movement side of things that I have not talked about on my podcast. So let's kind of dive right in. And of course, I want to hear about you, how you more about what you do, how you kind of got into that, which we'll kind of cover a little bit later as well. But yeah, tell us all the things.
All the things. So I've been a professional body worker for 25 years. I very fresh out of high school, realized college was not my jam. And I feel actually so fortunate now to have gotten my massage license like all of those years ago. Because it's really been the foundation of everything. And then actually I was more of a high level athlete and dancer. So I really I was young. And so I kind of took that route and I always just kept the massage thing in the background. I would trade dance teachers and things like that. But because I was a high level athlete and I did dance performance and fire performance and aerial acrobatics and all these things, I gravitated more towards working with people in pain instead of going to a spa massage or something like that. And then through my own injuries, which I'm sure we'll get into more in depth later, through my own injuries and wanting to go deeper and my own inability to receive the healing that I was looking for within the confines of the traditional medical model. I did end up going to school and studying physical therapy. And while, I say I didn't learn anything there in that school, and I really didn't learn anything that helped me with my problem that was this chronic pain issue in my shoulder, but being able to work in physical therapy for over a decade and working with people in chronic pain and working with people with very significant issues and transitioning to women's health and things like that, I got to see so much. I got to see so much, and more importantly, how medically mismanaged people are.
Yeah.
And because of that, because I didn't, because of that, and because when I was working in PT and giving people actual tools to really help themselves, things that they could do at home. I remember because I worked for the hospital system, they were like, yeah, no, like, please, like stick to the exercise program,
Yeah.
and I was like, but like, this is what they need. And they were like, yeah, but if they could just do it for themselves, then they won't come back. And that's when I really, like, I guess up until that point, I still had this naivety that, like, the healthcare system is there to help you. And I don't mean that nicely, kindly, and lovingly, you know what I mean? But that's when I really realized that it is a business and that it does not make money if you are independently well and you're managing your own self. So what I do now is I do that for people. I'm able to do that. I'm able to help people online and give them the tools and give them the strategies so that they can be independent in their self-care, so that they can get up and down off the floor in their 90s, and not just be stuck in this revolving door, what I actually refer to as the healthcare hamster wheel. Because once you get on it, that wheel starts spinning. And then you're just on it, right? And you can't stop, and it's just going. You're going to all these specialists and you're going to all these people, and you don't even know how you even got on the wheel or where it's even going, but you're spinning around in circles. And then everybody's just pointing back to the other person, like, don't know, go, and it's all this thing. And then sometimes when you get off the wheel, you feel a little dizzy and sick, like, what
It's
just
true.
happened?
Yeah.
And I would really, not that I don't think that some aspects of traditional medicine have a place, but I just don't think that it's the end all be all. I just think they do a very poor job of helping people be independent and,
Yeah.
like, get out of the system.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I saw that in my nursing background too. And that's, I think, why we connected so well too. But, and I've said it on I know I've said it on other episodes, and it's like, I don't want to be the one bashing the healthcare system. But unfortunately, that is the reality, right? Because, yeah, you get specialist after specialist and doctor appointment and then another follow-up. And then you're like, what the heck is going on? And why do I still feel so bad? um, it's unfortunately, yes, it says healthcare system, but it's more of a sick care system, right? I mean,
It
and
is.
yeah, that's the reality, unfortunately. So it's
I
not really for managing chronic conditions. And that's the thing too. Sure, like it can play a role if you're doing all the other things and working with like coaches like, like us. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, like, my specialty is more in pain relief and things like that. So, like, and you have like a different specialty than I have,
Hmm.
but, like, I see it all the time where people are just like, oh well, I just went and got an injection. And I'm like, yeah, but what else are you doing? Oh well, I feel better. And then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, it wore off, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you didn't like, if you need that to be able to do the X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I'm not
Exactly.
same as you. People think that I'm like against medications and
Yeah.
against injections. I'm not, so long as it's not the only thing you're doing. And that's just not like, oh, well, we'll just do injections until it's bad enough that you need surgery,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not actually working on the muscular, not working on the joint integrity, not working on anything, because
Mhm.
the actual injections in and of themselves actually make the joint integrity worse,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
steroid use is the number one cause of osteoporosis. So,
Yeah.
like, you're just going to inject that right in there over and over again. It degrades the bone, it degrades the tendons. You just can't feel it, and
Until
it
you
just,
do.
and
Yeah.
then I almost think it just, like, it makes it worse so that you do need surgery, but it's just they're collecting that money, $1,000 a pop for these cortisone injections, but they're never like, hey, are you doing therapeutic foam rolling? These are things that you can do to improve your joint health, and then there's that confusion that people think, we're going to get into this, I'm sure, that it's just normal.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
older, it's a normal part of aging. Arthritis is normal. All these things are normal, and it's not. It's normal. I say it's common. It's actually not normal
I love
because
that.
we, I mean, what's normal about our lives right now?
That's true. Yeah, it's very, very true. So
Like,
yeah, so that does kind of take us right into what we're talking about. Um, yeah, what are some things that you are hearing more and more people say? I love what you said that yeah, it's common, but it doesn't make it normal. So what
yeah,
are
it's
some of those things that you're hearing?
well, just like like a normal blood pressure is 120 over 80, which is actually quite high. But like,
Yeah.
but when you have a really unhealthy system where people are consuming really unhealthy foods and all of these things, like, and we're more sedentary and we have so much stress, yeah, that's going to
Mhm.
be, we're going to take the average and the normal is going to be high. So regardless, anyway, things that people are told are normal, notably women, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we're focusing, is that pain is a normal part of getting older. Oh, arthritis is normal. you know um Things like that, it's common to be leaking urine when you laugh or sneeze or cough, or not that a lot of us are jumping on trampolines anymore, but like that these things are normal. We think that it's normal,
Mhm.
that we have swelling and sock lines and that our ankles are puffy. Like it's just normal. It's just normal, at headaches, like all of these
Oh
things. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I just have a headache. And what's the normal for that? Oh, well, we'll just take ibuprofen. Well, you don't have a headache because your body's having a deficiency of ibuprofen. Or, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
and then it just becomes more and more and more. Like, what's the migraine with amitriptyline or something like that? You know what I mean? It's like things you can't even pronounce. And then it becomes very common to just
Mhm.
be on all of these pharmaceuticals that are all interacting with each other. And then your liver has to process those on
Yeah.
top of all the weird food that we're
Y-
eating.
Yeah.
And then it's just everything's normal. It's normal to have pain during your menstruation cycle. You know what I mean? Oh, it's just normal. That's normal. It just, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
people's symptoms, very real symptoms of something that could be wrong, get minimized. I mean, I
Yeah.
could even go so far to say it's normal for people to have pap smears multiple times a year, right? And is that causing more problems? Because the scar, they're taking these cells and then there's scar tissue that forms. There's all kinds of things. So
Mhm.
I'm like, at a certain point, I think women's health can be rather invasive and that there has to be better ways. I
Yeah.
also truly believe, and I'll say this from the bottom of my heart and soul, that men have no place in women's health care.
That's a good, yeah, because they definitely have not experienced it.
They have no experience. They don't know what they're doing. And like historically, if you look at it, like some of these measures that we're taking, it's
Yeah.
more of it wasn't, it was more of an experiment.
Yeah.
And if you're, I truly just believe that in my heart and soul, and I'll just leave that right there.
Um, no, I love what you pointed out about the menstrual cycles because I we're gonna get personal here for a second. So, I mean, I was on birth control for years, years and years. And even, of course, you start your cycle and all these things are happening. And yeah, I feel like it's cramping and all this stuff. Um, and so you think that's kind of normal. And then being on birth control for years, I still had, the normal symptoms, right? And sometimes they were even worse. They were getting worse until I really changed my nutrition, changed my lifestyle, finally got off birth control. And it's funny too, because even my GYN was like, well, do you remember how your periods were before this? And I was like, yeah. And so when I first talked to her about it, she kind of scared me. into like not going off of it. And so finally I was like, I'm making the decision and going off of it. And my periods are, I mean, they've never been better. They've they're like
Amazing.
yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually possible. And then if something is like, from the next month, if I feel it a little bit more, then I'm like, huh, something might be going on and I might have to reevaluate some things. But even then it's nothing like it was in the past. And so yeah, I think that's a huge takeaway there, is that you can actually, just because people, especially at a young age, women get told that, cramping and heavy bleeding and stuff are normal. No.
No. And, part of the work that I do with people, and it's so funny because people don't even think about the physical aspect of this. And so, like that we sit with our legs crossed, contracting all of our pelvic floor, and then hunching for like how many years did you sit?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? We're like this, hunched over, pushing down on all of our organs,
Oh, yeah.
contracting everything. All of that's getting tightened and smashed, and like fascia like contracting down. Like, how could anything work effectively? One of the number one things I work on with my clients, mostly women, is to stop sitting cross-legged. And you would be shocked how much resistance I run into for that one thing, because people think they've been told that they're that they have this diagnosis, and so that it's like something out here that happened to them, and they just feel so powerless over the fact that they could actually be doing something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And like when I talk to people about this posture, I mean, I've literally had people be like, that can't have anything to do with it. And I was like, have you tried? Stop. You know what I mean? Give it a week and just
Yeah.
see. And it's amazing because we don't think about it. We've sat in school for 12 years. We sat in college. We sit to eat. We sit in our cars. We sit at our desks. We sit and sit. And we're compressing
Oh,
all of
yeah.
our bodies are designed to be standing up and moving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're compressing why do we have such sluggish digestion? Well, if I eat a big meal and then compress all of my abdominals and my organs and small
Exactly.
and large intestine, like how is that going to move through there actually if I'm not up and moving it?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's
Wow.
like little things like that people we don't associate with, oh, well, I had to have my gallbladder taken out. But why,
Yeah.
I, I just don't get the like, let's just treat the symptom and not like try to understand, well, why?
Yeah. That's a huge takeaway. I mean, like it makes total sense, but I'm sure a lot of people don't think about that. Yes, we know sitting is bad, but to think about it in that sense, I think that's huge. Like if anybody listening, it's like that's a huge one right there.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then and you'll see me online, you see it all the time where I'm like, sitting with your legs crossed is one of the worst things you can do.
Oh
People are like,
yeah.
oh, I just uncrossed them. Like, what I mean? I'm like, like, how are you gonna? And then I see them, like, also because I'm on Complain Book, because then this very same people are like, oh, my back and my hip and my this, and I'm like, stop. And they're like, oh, well, that can't be it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I have to catch myself because I travel quite a bit. So especially on the plane. But I've definitely yeah, definitely it's top of mind. So I'll occasionally catch myself and then I'm like, congrats.
Sure. And
But
it's
that's probably my
ladylike.
biggest culprit. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
ladylike, right? We've been taught
Hmm.
that is ladylike. Every lady that you see on TV wearing those god awful heels and skirts, you know what I mean? And ding, ding. And so we
Yeah.
start to emulate. Our granny said like that. Our mom said like, we forget that they had pelvic floor dysfunction and were peeing themselves, right? But
Yeah.
if being ladylike means that I'm 4 to 1 more likely to have a total hip replacement, that I'm more likely to have cramping with menstrual cycle, that
Mhm.
I'm more likely to have pain with intercourse, that I'm more likely to have urinary incontinence. I'd rather not be ladylike.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good trade-off.
You know what I mean? And it's so funny. It's so funny because
Yeah.
it's like a security blanket for some people. And I think that oftentimes, and we've been trained through programming and the medical system that I don't hate, but that we just go take a pill for it and everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just
Ibuprofen is a
masking.
gateway drug.
And it's just
Tylenol.
masking. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we talked about kind of part of that is you're just getting older, or it's part of your diagnosis. And why do you think that that narrative is just so harmful?
Because it excuses finding real healing and it minimizes your actual experience. And then these are people that we trust. We have been programmed hook, line, and sinker to trust the things that doctors say to us. And in all honesty, I mean this nicely, kindly, and lovingly, they're not smart. You know what I mean? Like, if all they're learning is how to write the prescription for the symptom, you know what I mean? Like, what else are they doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been in relationships with doctors. My ex-boyfriend was a gynecologist, OBGYN, and so obviously I have some feelings. But when and that's actually spawned a lot of how I feel about that profession. But even when I was having pelvic floor dysfunction and I knew what to do for it because I went and trained and studied pelvic floor dysfunction and I had my pelvic floor one and whatever. And I was like, well, why am I using that when I have a trained professional? Right. And I'm like, can you just go like really? And he was just like, I don't know what those muscles are. I don't know what that is. And I was like, what do you know what I mean? And we think that because somebody is something, they know something. So when they're just like, you're just getting older. You just need to lose some weight. You just need to da, 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 da. It minimizes our experience and it disempowers us from believing that there is a different experience.
Yeah.
And then we can excuse not having to work on it because our doctor told us that it's just normal.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the authority figure. I mean, that's what we've been trained to think is that they're the authority. But I mean, I've said it to clients before, there are doctors out there that finished last in their class.
I
So just
mean,
because we know them as the authority figure doesn't mean that
they
they were at
have
the top of
D's.
their class. And yeah.
And I mean, gosh, I mean, like, go on Google, look up the doctors who are diagnosing people with cancer and treating them that don't even have cancer. Look at, how some doctors were treating our Olympic athletes. Look at, you know what I mean? Just because somebody's a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that they're a fantastic human being.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in general, I mean, they're not taught that stuff. They're not taught what we know. They're not taught about nutrition or all the bodywork stuff that you know. I mean, that's just
No,
not part of it. And
no,
so, it
it's not.
takes a team, really.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, okay, so like if my appendix ruptured and I needed to have my appendix out, I'm not going to try to do that at home myself.
No.
I'm not gonna be like, somebody get me the scalpel. I
Exactly.
know where it is. Like if I fell off my motorcycle and I have a bone sticking out of my leg, I'm not gonna be like, bring I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, those are situations where I would probably go to a medical professional, but like daily health stuff,
Yeah.
chronic pain issues, headaches, like my periods are heavy. I'm not going to those people because I know what they have for me. I know what they have for me. And if I want that, I can figure that out later. But I
Yeah.
just, yeah, I've been around the block long enough to know what it offers me.
Yeah.
And again, not that I'm down on the medical system. I think it's good for what it's good for,
Mm-hmm.
but just being a doctor only tells me that you had enough money to put yourself through school and you passed the test,
Yeah.
and that you want
Yeah.
to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. So based on your experience, what happens emotionally and physically, for these women that just accept that?
I think that there's a lot of depression that happens. I think that we feel like there's something wrong with us, that we're broken. I mean, I've struggled with my own personal issues. I remember for years going to all these people and they tell you there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. This is in your head. I've had that said to me, and I'm like, no, and you have to fight. And some people just don't have that fight. I do, but some people just don't,
Yeah.
they just sink into this depression. They feel disempowered. They don't, you know what I mean? And you probably talk to people who are very skeptical, right? And they're just like, well, if my doctor can't help me, like,
Exactly. Who can? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Because
Yeah.
again, we have this pedestal, and then we just accept. We accept that we're stuck like this forever, and that this is just life now. And
Yeah.
and and I don't want to use the term like, but we become a victim. You know what I mean? And there can be some of that mentality where we
Yeah.
feel like the world is against us and all of these things. And then there's a lack of trust. Like when somebody like us comes along, like I run into this often where people just lash at, they're angry
Mm-hmm.
and then lashing out, taking that out on me or somebody else who's like, actually, there's another way. And they're like, whatever. But I also understand. I understand that. I mean, I was in school for physical therapy and went to physical therapy and literally ripped the electrodes off of my body, walked out there like, do you want? And I was like, I'm not wasting my time coming back here. You know what I mean? I was angry. I was in pain. It made me not my best self. It made me not able, I'm just speaking from my own experience, right? But like, how do you show up for your children in the best way when you are in 100% pain? Your relationships suffer,
Yeah.
partnerships suffer,
Yeah.
like when your spouse is just like cannot help you, what I mean? You're just in pain all the time, and then you just feel like you're complaining all the time, and then you don't even want to say anything because you don't want to bother everybody else in your life.
Yeah.
All people start doing is checking on you, and you start to feel like everybody's woe is meing you, and or whatever that is, woe being you. You know what I mean? It's
I know what
just
you
like,
mean.
and it becomes like, it just becomes your entire life is wrapped up in this quote unquote diagnosis.
Yeah.
And that's the wheel. You're on the
Yeah.
wheel, right?
Yeah.
And it's just spinning. And
Yeah.
you just feel like anytime you put one foot forward, it's just spinning the wheel and you can't get off of it.
Yeah.
But you can.
If this conversation with Samantha lit a fire in you, if you're thinking, wait a minute, maybe this isn't my forever, then know this, you are not broken and you don't have to settle for survival mode. Healing starts when we question the labels, the limitations, and the lies. And it deepens when we tap into the tools that support our body's natural rhythm, like the lymphatic system that's been overlooked for far too long. I will put the links in the show notes so you can connect with Samantha and learn more about her work at Not Now Therapeutics. Her sessions, her philosophy, and her heart for women's healing are truly one of a kind. Until next time, keep nourishing, keep healing, and thriving.